Hey everybody, Eric Tate here. Thanks so much for getting this free tutorial video. Whether you are a longtime Penguin fan or you're joining us for the first time from YouTube, thanks so much for purchasing this. We're so excited to get you learning some fantastic card moves. So if you, by the way, if you haven't come to us from YouTube, a lot of people are watching this video because they saw one of my videos on YouTube where I discussed the top 5 best sleights with cards for beginners. And almost everything we're going to be talking about today comes out of this book right here. This is Royal Road to Card Magic. It's a fantastic book for beginners. If you're interested in learning some great card magic, you can pick up this book on Penguin and learn some great stuff. So, the 5 best, or my 5 favorite sleights for beginners with a deck of cards are the false overhand shuffle, the Browy reversal, the pinky shot, the double undercut, and the double lift. This is a great set of sleight of hand that you can use in a variety of combinations to accomplish some really, really awesome tricks. And the trick that we're going to be learning today is the mini multiple selection. You're going to have 3 cards selected, lose them in the deck, and be able to reproduce them all in increasingly impossible ways. Let's start off with the first sleight, which is sleight number 5 in my top 5 list, the false overhand shuffle. Now I'm going to show you the way this works with 3 cards here. We're going to use the Ace of Spades, we're going to use the 2 of Spades, and we're going to use the 3 of Spades. And the reason we're going to use these is so that you can see that even though it looks like I am shuffling the deck, I have complete control over these 3 cards, because the first one on top is the 2 of Spades, and on the bottom are my 2 other cards, the Ace of Spades and the 3 of Spades. So let's do this with these cards face up so that you can learn it in depth with me. So we're going to start out with these 3 cards on top so that you can get into this shuffle from just about anywhere. What you're going to do is first you're going to run 2 cards to the bottom of the deck and then drop everything on top. After that, you've got 1 card on top and 2 cards on the bottom. Now what you're going to do next is called a milking action. What you're going to do is you're going to lift up the entire deck with your right hand here in that shuffling action, but your thumb and your middle finger are going to drag the top and the bottom card off together. So what happens is you are milking the top and the bottom card off, and then you're shuffling everything off on top of those to the bottom card and then dropping the bottom card on top. Now what happens is as you do this successive times, one of the cards always stays on the bottom, in this case that 3, whereas the top card and the second to bottom card continue to change places. And so this keeps those cards under your control. Now it doesn't matter the order of the cards, it just matters that you know exactly where all of the cards are. So you can and you don't want to do that. You want to make sure that you shuffle everything off to the bottom so that you can control these cards and keep them under your control, like this. So if we do this with these cards face down, you'll see milking action, shuffling everything off to the last card, milking action, shuffling everything off to the last card, Oop. Milking action, shuffling everything off to the last card, right? And still, I'm able to keep that 3, that 2, and that ace under my control at all times. So what we think of as a false shuffle doesn't necessarily mean that the entire deck has to stay in order. It just means that you're able to control 1 or more cards secretly to wherever you want. So this false shuffling sequence is really, really deceptive because it seems like the entire deck is being shuffled, but you're still able to maintain control of these 3 cards. Now let's talk about the Browy reversal. I'm going to set aside the 2 and the 3 for a second, and we're going to use just the Ace of Spades here. Now the Ace of Spades is on top of the deck, and what the Browy reversal looks like is this. You're going to show 1 card on the bottom, you're going to show another card, then you're going to turn it face down, and when you spread the deck, that card turns face up. So the way this works is you're going to get a pinky break underneath that top card. This is the secret 6th sleight here that I told you you would learn. And the way what a pinky break is you're going to slip just the tip of your finger between the top card and the rest of the deck. This is going to allow you to get a secret grip on that card in just a few moments. And the best way to get in here is to just move use your thumb to move that top card over, and then when you move it back, your pinky is able to just press up underneath it, and then you've got that break. Let's talk a little bit about how to keep a break, though. We don't want to press down with our heel because we'll get this sort of ski jump looking thing right here. We want to leave that top card as loose as possible on the other side so that it maintains a flat plane. If it stays flat on the top, it becomes a lot more deceptive. You can also angle your hand just a little bit so that the card stays parallel with the ground. That's not really necessary because as you move your hand around, it's the whole deck is going to move in conjunction with that card so that it doesn't matter where it is. But if you find yourself feeling like the card is tilted too far up, you can just tilt your hand back a little bit and make that card be parallel to the ground. Now, in order to secretly reverse this card, what we're going to do is come in what's called biddle grip. So my index finger is curled, and my middle finger and my ring finger are going to contact the front of the deck, and my thumb is going to come over and touch the back of the deck and gripping those cards. And you'll notice that my thumb is taking over that break because now the break is still on the deck, but that allows my left hand to take the bottom half of the deck and turn it over and show the middle card. And then I'm going to just drop it right on top of that card while maintaining that break. And I'm going to, my left hand, after it deposits that half of the deck up here, is going to take the bottom half of the deck, turn it over, and put it underneath. So what that right there does is that traps that ace between these two halves of the deck. And it traps it in the same orientation that it was without erasing suspicion. So that when you square up the cards here, you're able to spread and show that this card is face up in the middle. Now, I'll give you a nice little pro tip. If you want to hide that that card is still face up in the middle and you want to make it appear as though it turns over later, you can spread the cards like this and show that it's face down, but I'm just spreading the top portion of the deck very wide. I'm then going to push over a big chunk of cards in the middle and show the bottom deck of the card wide. And so what that allows me to do is apparently show the entire deck while hiding the fact that that ace is still spread in the middle. So I'm just moving a big chunk of cards from the middle and spreading wide on the top and the bottom. You don't have to do that, but that is a nice little subtlety to make it appear as though that card comes up in the middle of the deck. Let's talk about the pinky shot. This is this sleight right here where I'm shooting the card out of the deck. Now, this is not technically a sleight. It's what we would call a flourish. It's just a nice, fancy way to handle the cards to make yourself look like you have a great deal of skill with the deck of cards. So what you're going to do in order to accomplish this is you're going to use your thumb. So the deck is in the left hand, and your thumb is going to pull the top card down just a bit so that your pinky can press against this card and into the heel of the palm. And it's just going to, this is kind of hard to do slowly, but I'm going to show you the action right here, is that I'm gripping the bottom of the deck with my fingers right here. I'm gripping the rest of the deck with my fingers so that this deck doesn't move. And my pinky is just going to press in and through that card. You can see how it just allows the card to flick off. And you'll notice that my hand is tilted up so that when you do this, so doing it slowly causes it to sort of flop off because it takes all the tension out of the card. But this is relying mostly on the fact that the card wants to return to a flat shape, and if you don't put a significant bend in the card, it'll have more spring and it'll fly out. But you're just pressing your pinky through so that card will fly up. And you're just letting it spring off the tip of the pinky as it gets pushed past the spring point. And again, tilting your hand up like this is going to cause that card to come up and then come back down, because if it's going to rotate and the gyroscopic force of the card rotating will keep it in this plane so that it comes up and then it comes back down in that same plane, almost like throwing a frisbee up and down. It's going to cut through the air so that it comes back down so you can catch it in this hand. And with just a little bit of practice, you can learn to catch that card. It's a fun little flourish so that you can, after you've apparently lost a card in the deck, you can make it appear. Let's talk about the double undercut. This is such an underutilized move. A lot of magicians don't like to use it, but it's a great way to move cards around secretly in the deck. We're going to set aside these for just now, and we're going to use the ace of spades. So what we're going to do is put the ace of spades on top And let's say we want to move the ace of spades to the bottom. We're going to get a pinky break below that card. What we're going to do is come in with our right hand over the top of this, and we're going to take over that break with our thumb. Now our index finger is curled, and our middle finger and ring finger are taking over the front of the deck, and the thumb is pinching against the back of the deck here. And it is just gently holding that ace separated from the rest of the deck. And the way a double undercut works is you're going to apparently cut the deck twice. But really what happens is you take about half the cards and then set them on the top, and you take everything below your break underneath that and then put it on top as well. So at speed, it looks like that. Now, if you are receiving a card from somebody, you can use it to control that card to the bottom like so. So let's say you do a swing cut. So we're going to swing cut off like this, and you're going to receive this card back. We're going to get a pinky break underneath it, and we're going to put the rest of the cards on top. Now, we're still going to do a double undercut, but we're just not going to cut as many cards. We're going to come over, and we're going to catch that break with our thumb the same way as if the break was on top, and we're going to cut about half the cards from the bottom, put them on top, and then cut everything underneath the break and move it to the top. That will allow you to get that card back to the bottom. If you have a card on the bottom and you want to bring it to the top, you can use a double undercut to do that too. So what you'll do is you'll press your index finger along this card, and you're going to buckle it, and then put your pinky right there so that you have a break over the top of the card that you want to move to the top. Your right thumb is going to come in and again catch that break, and you're going to cut half the cards from the top, put it on the bottom. You're going to pick up the remaining portion of the cards. You're going to move them over to the side. And again, here you're picking up above the break, and you're going to take them and put them to the bottom. And that moves the card to the top. So you can see that using the double undercut, we can move our selected card from the top, or from the bottom to the top, or from the top to the bottom, or we can take it back as we are receiving a card, and then we can maneuver that card to the bottom of the deck and make it feel as though the card is lost. Now, I'll give you a little hint here. There's something that I like to do with the double undercut that makes it seem a little bit more fair. So let's say I want to move this card to the bottom. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have my break here, and I'm going to cut once, and then I'm going to pick everything up over the break, put it down, and then put everything down on top of it. Now, this looks like I've actually cut that card into the middle, and then I can square. That's just a little extra move that I do to make it just a little bit more convincing. So again, what I'm doing is I'm catching a break underneath the card that I'm going to be moving, and then I'm going to cut about half the cards, put them on top, maintaining a break between that selected card and the rest of the cards. Now I'm going to put everything above the break on the table, and then put this down on top of it like that, and then square. It gives a little bit of a retention of vision so that people can see where the deck was cut, and that when it's being squared on the table, it feels like I can't do anything extra to control it. Let's get to the last sleight and go more in depth on this. And this is very much a foundational move for magicians who want to learn card magic, and that is the double lift. So right here, I'm going to show you the top card of the deck is apparently the 10 of hearts, and I'm going to put it down like that, snap my fingers, and it changes into the ace of spades. No doubt you've come across moves like this before, or even thought, hey, wouldn't it be cool if you could do that, if you could hold two cards as one. Well, we're going to learn how to do that right now. So what you're going to do is you're going to be turning over the top two cards as one card. And there are a lot of double lifts out there for you to learn, but this is the one that I like because it gives me a lot of control over the double lift. It helps me to keep the cards in alignment almost the entire time, and it feels very natural as to how to turn the card over. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold the deck in what we call dealer's grip. So I've got my index finger curled around the front of the deck, my middle ring and pinky are up here on the side, and then the cards are being rested against the base of the thumb, this big fleshy part of the thumb right here. Now my thumb, resting across the top, is going to smear over these two cards so it clears the top corner of the deck right there. My right hand is going to come in, and my middle finger on my right hand is going to pinch against the short edge as the thumb pinches against the long edge and squares up those two cards. As that happens, I'm using this corner of the card, this interior corner of the card, is going to pivot against the base of my thumb. Once it gets here and it clears from the deck, my middle finger and my thumb are going to rotate the card up like this, again, using the base of my thumb as a pivot point, and then come in and lift up the two cards as one. Now you'll notice that my index finger and my middle finger are spread apart and my thumb is pressing between them. What this does is it turns the card into sort of like a spoon. It is a little bit of convex here. That helps to keep the cards squared when we don't have this extra point of contact right here, because it's going to move, my right hand's going to move these two cards up as one and re-grip them with my thumb, my middle finger, and my index finger. And you'll notice how it's lifted up off the top of the deck here. I'm lifting it up off the top of the deck so I don't have to readjust these two cards and maybe accidentally show them splitting. This is a very secure way, and you'll notice I've got 3 points of contact on the cards, so these cards aren't going to split and accidentally reveal that I'm holding two cards as one. Once I've shown that card right there, I'm going to turn this face down, and you'll see the way I'm coming in here again is my middle finger and my index finger are spread, and my thumb is pressing between them, right? And that is going to give me sort of 3 points of contact so the cards won't want to split. And I'm going to just close it like I'm closing the pages of a book, right? So turn over, show the card, close it, and then I can take off the top card, and it effectively switches in that ace of spades right there. So that is a more in-depth version of the double lift. Now let's take a look at how we can put all of these together into what I like to call the mini multiple selection. All right, let's do the mini multiple selection. You can have any cards selected for this. I'm just going to pull out the ace 2 and the 3 for good measure, and so that we know exactly what they are. Those cards can be freely selected from the deck. One at a time, you're going to take these cards back, just like so, and we will lose the cards in the deck like this. The last one. And we'll give the deck a good shuffle for good measure so that the cards are well and truly lost in the deck. There's no way I could possibly know where any of these cards are. Now we'll find the first card with some skill. I'll just go ahead and go like this and have the card come shooting out of the deck. There is the first one. We'll shuffle the deck again and see if I can't find the second one. But I'm going to find the second one. I'm pretty sure that's not the card, and I know that's not it either. So that means it's somewhere in the middle of the deck here. Maybe if I snap my fingers, I can make it appear. Yep, there we go. There is the second card. Now we'll find the last one. So we'll just give the deck a little bit of a shuffle for good measure here. And let's see, I think, pretty sure that that's not it, is it? Let's see, what if I blow on it, we can transform it into your selection. And that is the mini multiple selection. Now, in the process of this trick, I'm going to be using the ace, the 2, and the 3 here so that we have an easy time remembering them. These, of course, can be the cards that are selected in this trick can be any card in the deck. This deck can be handed out to a spectator and shuffled. You could borrow this deck. Maybe you're even at a coffee shop that has a community deck of cards. You can do this with a borrowed shuffled deck in use. So you would have 3 cards selected at the very beginning of this. So just spread the deck out and have 3 cards selected. You're going to take these cards back one at a time, and then we're going to apparently lose them into the deck. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to do what's called a swing cut. So my right hand is going to come in the middle grip again, and the index finger is going to separate this top packet of cards and swing it over into the right hand. When I take this first card from somebody, I'm going to take it and I'm going to get it into a pinky break. All right, so I'm going to receive the card, and I'm going to push it over and get it into a pinky break. Now you're going to do a double undercut. And the way we're going to do this double undercut is we're going to put the packet on top of everything above that card, and we're going to come in with our thumb as we do that, and we're going to cut half the cards here and then another half of the cards. What that does is that brings that card to the bottom. We're going to do the swing cut again and take back the second card, and we're also going to double undercut it to the bottom. So now our first 2 selections are on the bottom, and we're going to do this one last time. But this time what we're going to do is we're not going to get a break on it. We're going to put these cards, the this bottom half of the deck back on, but holding a pinky break between the two, and we're going to double undercut back to the top. So our situation is now we've got one card on the top, and then we've got the two selections on the bottom. Once we've done that, we'll tell our audience that we're going to shuffle the cards. And we're going to do that false shuffling sequence that we learned by milking those top and bottom cards, shuffling all the way off to the last card, and then doing that a couple more times. And the nice thing is, because you can feel when you've only got one card left, you don't really have to focus on your hands on this. You can look at your audience and talk to them as you're doing this, and making sure to shuffle everything off so that you end up right here. And so you've got the one selection on the top and the two other selections on the bottom. The first thing we're going to do now is we're going to find the first card in a fancy way. And so I always like to tell them that I'm going to do it in a fancy way so that it establishes that I have skill right off the bat and no one's going to start trying to bust me on anything. At least I have found that that's a great way to perform. So we'll just do the pinky shot and find that first card right there and pop it back down. Now we're going to control the other two cards to the top of the deck by shuffling off and making sure that as I get close to the end here, I'm going to take single cards so that my top two cards are now the selections that we're hiding on the bottom. And again, all we have to do that is to shuffle off, and then just as we get closer to the bottom, start running single cards so that I can get those two selections back to the top. Now we're going to find the next one by doing the Browie reversal. We'll get that break right there. We'll say this isn't your card, correct? And this isn't your card either. That means your card is somewhere in the middle of the deck, but we don't know where. Snap my fingers, spread the deck, and that right there makes the second card happen. Now, because of the way we did that Browie reversal, that leaves our last selection on the top of the deck. So now we can do our false shuffle again, and if we do that same false shuffling sequence, as long as we do it three times, that's one, two, actually, I'm sorry, two times. As long as we do it two times, that brings that second card up to the top if we want. It's an optional thing. You don't have to do it. But as long as you do your same false shuffling sequence when you have just one card that you want to control on the top and you've already done the other two, doing it twice will bring the final card back to the top of the deck. Again, optional. You don't have to. But for the final one, we're going to apparently make a mistake. We will do a double lift. We'll show an indifferent card. The name of this card doesn't matter, but you show it to your audience and you say, hey, look, I found your card. And they say no, then you turn it back down and say, well, I'll have to find the last one with magic. Take off the top card, rub it, blow on it, snap your finger, cast a magical shadow, and change it. And all we're doing here is we're doing a lift to show the wrong card, and then we're turning that double back down, taking off the top card, which is this real selected card, making a magical gesture, and finding the last one. Now, obviously, if you could control more cards, then you could do this type of multiple selection routine where multiple cards are lost and then found with as many cards as you wanted. And there's some really wonderful tutorials here on Penguin Magic that'll teach you how to do other sleights like that so that you can expand this into more cards as well. Maybe even check out a Penguin Live lecture to learn how to do some of that stuff. Well, thanks so much for joining me on this tutorial. I really appreciate you being here. And for those of you just starting your road to card magic, welcome to this wonderful world. It is awesome to have you here. Thanks so much for watching. Do me a favor, please leave a review down below because it helps other people find great magic that's just for them. I'm Eric Tate. Thanks so much for watching. As always, we'll see you next time.